So, let's dive into something pretty profound. We're going to explore what Islamic tradition teaches us about the soul's journey, right in those very first moments after death.
I mean, it's a question that everyone at some point has probably thought about, right? And what's fascinating is that Islamic theology provides this incredibly detailed, structured answer. It describes a journey that doesn't just start after death, but actually begins in the final moments of life.
And to start, let's look at this really powerful, really solemn statement. Indeed, death has its agonies. Wow. Right away, this acknowledges the sheer intensity of the soul's departure. It grounds this whole conversation in reality that's described as, well, universal and incredibly profound.
So, you see, this isn't pictured as some quiet fading away. Not at all. The tradition describes a very distinct, very intense experience for the soul. And there's actually a specific term for this, sakarat al-maut. It literally translates to the agonies or the pangs of death. Think of it as that final, overwhelming moment when the soul is being pulled from the physical body. It's almost like the final struggle between the mortal world and the eternal one.
And what really underscores how universal this experience is that even the prophets of God, people held in the absolute highest esteem, are described as having gone through it. It's a stark reminder that absolutely no one is exempt from this critical, final moment.
But here's where the tradition offers something so beautiful. It doesn't just describe this intense difficulty and leave it there. We also find a prayer, a supplication taught by the Prophet Muhammad himself, asking for help during this very process. It's a practical tool for solace, a direct plea for God's mercy when it's needed most.
Okay, so once the soul has departed the body, the journey isn't over. It continues in a place called the barzakh. You can think of it as an intermediate realm. And it's here that the soul faces its very first trial. The teachings lay out a super clear sequence of what happens next. First, the soul is returned to the body, but just for this specific event, not for life as we know it. Then, two angels arrive, and that's when the questioning begins.
And you know, these aren't just any angels. They have a very specific job, and they even have names, Munkar and Nakir. Their whole purpose is to carry out this first, absolutely foundational test of the soul.
So, what is this test? Well, it all comes down to three fundamental questions. And let's be clear, this isn't a trivia quiz. These questions are a direct reflection of the life a person actually lived.
The first question is simple, yet incredibly deep. Who is your Lord? This question gets right to the heart of faith, to the core concept of God's oneness. It's not about just knowing the right name to say, it's about whether you truly centered your entire life around your Creator.
Then comes the second question. What is your religion? And just like before, the answer isn't just a single word. It's asking about the path you truly walked, the principles that guided your choices, your actions, everything. Did you actually live a life of submission to God's will? And the final question is, who is this man who was sent amongst you? This, of course, is referring to the Prophet Muhammad, and the question is really testing whether a person accepted the divine guidance he brought and the example he set for all of humanity. And here is the absolute crucial point. Success in this test has nothing to do with your memory or how smart you are. Your tongue will only be able to speak the truth of how you lived your life. For a true believer, the answers will just flow effortlessly. But for someone who is heedless, their tongue will be tied. The answers aren't recalled. They're a manifestation of your entire life.
Okay, so understanding this trial is one thing, but that naturally leads to the next question. How do you even prepare for something like this? Well, the tradition also provides direct guidance on how to seek protection.
The specific name for this whole experience is Fitnat al-Qabr, which means the trial of the grave. And this term covers everything, the questioning by the two angels, Munkar and Nakar, and what comes after, which is a state for the soul of either bliss or, well, tribulation.
And this is such a key theme, The very same sources that describe the trial in detail are the exact same sources that teach you how to seek refuge from it. It's not just a warning, it's a complete framework for both understanding and preparation. And here's how that guidance becomes really practical. One of the prayers the Prophet himself would frequently make was, "O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the trial of the grave." It's so simple but so powerful. This prayer becomes a constant reminder and a kind of spiritual shield. It turns just knowing about the trial into actively seeking God's protection from it.
So all of this really brings us to a final, really important question to think about. If our lives are the prep work and our actions are the answers to the test, then how does understanding this first journey of the soul completely reframe the purpose of how we live our lives right here, right now?